Hey, what's up? Today we are starting a video series. We are going to work on an art print from start to finish. And the inspiration is this. This is the first watcher that I ever made in my watcher series, and I would like to revisit this. I think I did this like 3 or 4 years ago, and see, isn't he pretty? Isn't he? He's like everything we ever wanted. He's everything we ever wanted. Yeah. I like this guy. You like him too? Yeah, you don't look at him too much. Don't look at. It's a little dated. I've learned a lot. I've grown as an artist, and I think I can make something a lot cooler. And I want to sell it as an art print on my Etsy shop, nickroberts.art.etsy.com. I think. I'll post a link. I might be wrong about that URL. So this painting was the first watcher that I ever made. And I actually did in a sketchbook with some Copic paint pens, markers, whatever you want to call them. So this was the initial sketch, and then it turned into that picture that I just showed, or there's some feet. I suck at drawing feet, so I just drew them. Don't judge me. Don't judge. So yeah, we're gonna work on this. I'm gonna walk you through the steps. Let me put this down. I'm gonna walk you through the steps that I take. I'm gonna be using Clip Studio Paint because it's awesome. I'm gonna keep saying that, annoy the heck out of you, because I love Clip Studio Paint. This is video 1. We're gonna start with a sketch. I'm gonna use the symmetry ruler and then add little details to make it a little more unique and have a little bit of asymmetry, even though I use symmetry at the beginning. It's dark in here. Oh man. The lighting's gonna be all jacked up. Oh well, who cares? I don't care. Do you care? No, it doesn't matter that much. Then we're gonna move on to line art. Then I'm gonna go into my coloring process, and we're gonna decide how we wanna get this printed. I think just CMYK process. I don't really wanna pay for screen printing right now, but I'm gonna make it a limited edition print. I'm thinking either 25 to 50, depending on if anybody's commenting and telling me they're interested. Definitely comment below and subscribe to follow this video series. I want you to be here. I love you, even though I don't know you. And all right, let's go. All right, before we get started, I am going to show you how I set up my file and set up the symmetry tool. So we go to File, New. Okay, so I want to do an 11 by 14 inch print. And so as you can see, I have the unit set to inches. I have the width set to 11 and the height set to 14. I don't plan on having bleed in this document, and bleed is basically what printers do to get a full print where all the artwork goes to the edge of the paper. What usually happens, I mean, there's some printers that print all the way to the edge, but the best way to do it is to print larger than your final product. So they'll use the trim marks to cut into the print, and the print goes to the edges, and it looks really nice. But for this one, I don't want to make it overly complicated. I'll have a little bit of a edge to it. Some elements will go closer to the paper edge than others, but we're not going to have a bleed. So I'm not setting this document up for that. So I've got, as you can see here, I've got 11 by 14. If you want to switch the dimensions and do like a landscape piece of artwork, you can press this button and it'll switch the width and height for you. I'm doing a vertical print. It just suits the project that I'm working on. And this is a really important part. If you're going to be printing something, you want to have it unless it's going to be like a large scale poster, billboard or something like that. Well, even a poster, you want to have this file at 300 dpi, and that stands for dots per inch. And if you know, or if you don't know, I'll explain it to you. Dots per inch represents CMYK printing, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And black is K, represented by K because it stands for key. If you're wondering why it's a K instead of a B. So what happens is with process color, and with the technology now and printers, you can not really see this as much. But if you look at like old, like say comic books, newsprint, it's a lot easier to see. If you zoom in or get really close to a piece of paper that's printed with CMYK process, you can see all these microscopic dots. And what this allows the ink to do is represent a whole lot of different colors on the spectrum, because it uses these dots, and it tricks the eye into thinking it's seeing all these vivid colors that aren't actually on the page, or it overlays the dots over one another. And because it's ink, it's translucent, so the colors overlay nicely. So that's DPI in a nutshell. It represents dots. You might see PPI or something like that, like points or pixels per inch, and that's more for like digital. But yeah, for this case, we're going to be printing it, so dots per inch, 300 or higher. If you really want to go fancy, 600. I've done some 600 prints, 600 DPI prints, and it looks, I mean, it's going to look sharp. But if you go any lower than that, you might be able to tell that, hey, this was printed digitally. I can see pixels, or a representation of what pixels were, and it's not going to be as great as it could be. So, you know, the more color, more resolution, the higher the resolution that you have, the more it's going to bog down your computer. So if you have like a bare bones computer, I would not recommend going over 300, and you probably are limited to doing regular sizes. 11 by 14 should be fine. If you switch over to pixel, it's only 3300 by 4200 pixels. So you really shouldn't have that much of a problem. But when you get into like poster sizes, it can get quite burdensome on a computer that doesn't have a lot of hardware to back up it. Okay, so in Clip Studio, you can also select paper color. So if you want to start off with like a cream color, you can do that here. You can save it as a template. I'm going to go ahead and save this preset because I'll probably do 11 by 14 prints in the future. I'll just put 11 by 14 and then the inch symbol and hit OK. And so now in my presets, I've got this 11 by 14. So if I ever want to do that again, I am all set. And you can customize this more, but that's for another video. You can put your file name here and then hit OK. And here we have our print page. In the layers panel, you can still go in and change your color. And then you have a blank layer already created for you, which is nice. It's nice that it's already set up for you. All right, so what we're going to want to do is today we're going to be using the symmetry tool. So if you go to the rulers tools, and let me open this up a little bit. It's represented by this right angle ruler, try T-square. I believe, no, it's not a T-square. It's like a, I'm sorry, I don't remember, but it basically gives you a perfect right angle. You've probably seen this type of ruler before. So I like to have all of my rulers separated out as subtools because I don't like messing with the tool properties as much. If I'm switching between the type of ruler every single time, it kind of bogs things down. So what we have here is the number of lines. So you can have like up to 16 lines. So here we got like a 2-line symmetry ruler, and if you draw on one side, it'll show up reflected on the other side, or you can have like up to 16 lines. So if we move this up, it'll give you a reflection of 16 of them. There's also the line symmetry. If you turn that off, it actually is more of a continuation as opposed to a reflection of your design. So as you can see, this gets pretty cool and useful as well to make cool designs. But let's go back to number of lines is 2. If I turn that on, you'll see, so it's kind of still reflected, but it's kind of the opposite direction as opposed to the mirrored version. But I want to do the mirrored version, so let's turn line symmetry on. Snap angle, we'll snap it to 45-degree angles, but you can do that with the shift key. So what you do here is you click, I hold shift, then click and drag, and as you can see, it snaps to the 45-degree angles without that setting turned on, so you don't really need it. I'm doing vertical because I want them to be mirrored across vertically. So if I let go here, as you can see, it is reflected on the other side. Okay, so we have our symmetry ruler set up. And what you want to do is press the A key or go to the object operation and then object select tool. And you can click and drag to grab it, or you can click directly on the line. It's a little hard to just click directly on the line, so I like to click and drag. And a new tool that the latest version of Clip Studio Paint has, and you can do this in Photoshop as well, to align something, is open up the line window, which go to window, align distribute. And you can have it aligned to canvas, which is what I want, or set to auto, and it's automatically doing canvas because that's what makes the most sense in this situation. So I'll hit the align horizontal centers, and this way we know, as you can see, that it's aligned directly to the center of the canvas, so I don't have to worry about it being like a little bit off. So if it's over this way a little bit and I'm drawing, I'm like, oh man, some of my art got cut off. And this has happened to me. It's been like a little bit off, and that side of the artwork doesn't show up. So you definitely want to have it centered. So that's how you have the symmetry ruler set up. And you can right click, and if you look at the layers panel, you can see you have a ruler applied to that layer, and you can right click on the ruler, delete, show ruler, link ruler to layer. There's a lot of options, and we can go over those another time. I do plan on doing a very in-depth video tutorial on the different rulers that Clip Studio comes with, because they're really cool and really, really useful for all sorts of different applications. So yeah, we've got our file set up. We got a brush. And basically the way that this ruler works is you draw on one side of that line and it'll recreate that design on the other side. So if you want to make something that is symmetrical and cool looking, awesome. Do like some eyes. Make an angry face or something. Okay, so what if you want to draw on one side but not draw on the other, and kind of add some elements to the piece that are asymmetrical? It's not parallel or flipped over on the other side. Well, what you can do, I'll undo that, is at the top right here, there is a button called Snap to Special Ruler. There's Snap Ruler, Special Ruler, and Snap to Grid. Since the symmetry tool is a special ruler, you're going to want to turn this off, and I actually have this set to Control 2 as my hotkey because it's easy to turn off and on, and I use it semi-regularly, so to me it's worth it. And so if you turn that off, now you can draw on one side and it doesn't affect the other side, so you can quickly like switch between symmetry and no symmetry, or any type of ruler that you have turned on that you want to use or not use. I switch rulers on and off quite frequently when I'm using them, so it's definitely worth it getting comfortable using those hotkeys or setting up your own custom ones that will adjust the rulers for you. All right, so now we're gonna go on to my art print. So as you can see, I started before I hit the record button. Yeah, I start off with the sketch, and I'm gonna put the watcher up on screen that I am referencing right now. Okay, so we're sketching, we're doodling, we're figuring this out. I'm using a very simple brush that I use all the time. I think it's a default Photoshop tipped on its side. I think I paid for it, and it was like a set of 4 brushes from this concept artist that I really like, and come to find out it was just a default Photoshop brush. I'm not gonna out the person who sold it, but I really got mad when I bought this brush, because I'm like, dude, you just used the default Photoshop brush. And I'm going to show you what the shape I'm talking about is. Like this, everybody uses this shape, and this guy just tipped it over vertically, and that was his brush that he sold. Anyways, moving on. As you can see, I got the symmetry ruler turned on, and that reflects whatever you're drawing on one side onto the other. I use the align center to make sure it's right in the middle. And I'm just drawing away at this watcher that they usually have some sort of human skull shape to them. But, you know, sometimes things don't go as planned, and as you'll see, I'm gonna speed things up and not say anything for a little bit so you can kind of see. I get to a point where I'm not quite happy with how it looks, and sometimes that's the way art goes, is you just decide you're not feeling it, and you decide to pivot. And I really am excited about the final outcome, so I'm really ecstatic that I decided to pivot and not stick with what I had. All right, I'm going to speed things up. I'll see you in a second. Okay, so this is the point where I start to ink. I put it on a vector layer. Yes, there's vector layers in Clip Studio, so you can make any of your line art as large or small as you want and adjust it after you've made a brush stroke. But I continue working, starting to ink this piece, and I just don't feel like it's showing the growth that I've experienced in the past couple of years since I made this first watcher. And I decided that I'm gonna do something else. And so I added a horizon line, and I add perspective, 1 point perspective to be exact. And from there, I start to sketch out a watcher that has a little bit more dimension to it, and it's looking down at the viewer instead of just directly at the viewer. So it makes the viewer feel smaller than the watcher is. So using the same tools, but just a little bit of a refreshed angle, I continue to work on the watcher. Thinking about symmetry and thinking about asymmetry, because the cool thing about Clip Studio is you can turn the symmetry tool on and off really easily. I have it set to a hotkey of Control 2, and that way I can work on one side, and yeah, you'll see that in a second, or you'll see that start to show up in the artwork. So you might be asking yourself, where am I getting the inspiration for this? Am I looking at references? Well, besides the reference that of the original art that I made? No, I'm not looking at references. And you might be asking yourself, well, then how are you coming up with all these ideas at once? It just takes years of practice. That's what it comes down to. I have a visual library of different shapes and visual motifs that I have used so often that I don't need to reference it anymore. It's in my noggin, so to speak. And this is something that you will just develop over time. It takes a lot of practice, or it doesn't take practice. It just takes a lot of doing. I've done a lot of doing in my days, and that's what it takes. It's not a matter of being gifted, in my opinion. There might be some proclivities that you have that can help you in developing a visual library in your head. There might be some benefits that you could possibly be born with mentally, but there's still a lot of work. You got to get the work done. There are no shortcuts. Yeah. There's no shortcuts to getting good at drawing. You can learn strategically, but it's still going to take time. All right, I'm going to wrap this one up here. I think I'm done with this sketch, and next video I'm going to work on the line art, doing particularly final line art, so it's going to be nice and clean. And I'm trying to think of what exactly I'll go over. Maybe some of the brush tools that I use, just something to make it educational but also entertaining. But yeah, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for being on this journey with me. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.